Welcome to the Buffalo State Review. I'm Osmond Shire.
And I'm Monique Maxwell. On today's show, we'll be discussing the celebration of Women's History Month, this month's career fair, events on campus, the passing of a fellow Bengal, and much more.
Now, from the campus of SUNY Buffalo State, news and information for Buffalo and the surrounding communities. It's the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media.
Buffalo State suffered a terrible loss this past Friday on March 10th. Michael Brandis, a student here, passed away suddenly in his more complex room. Police and emergency medical technicians were called and attended to Michael. He was pronounced dead at the scene by the Erie County Medical Examiner's Office. Foul play is not suspected. He passed away by natural causes. Michael, of East Amherst, New York, majored in business administration and was a senior. He was named to Buffalo State's academic dean's list during his time at the college. He was 41 years old.
This past Tuesday, all schools in the Buffalo area were closed due to the snowstorm that caused Governor Cuomo to declare a state of emergency. There was over 6.5 inches of snow by 1 p.m. On Monday, the Buffalo area expected 2 inches of now and got 5 to 8 more inches before throughout the day.
In celebration of Women's History Month, filmmaker and journalist Yoruba Rachin presented their 2013 documentary film, The New Black. The event was held on March 9th. Yoruba Rachin is a documentary filmmaker who has directed and produced films in the U.S. and abroad, including Africa, South America, and Southeast Asia. The event was co-sponsored by Women and Gender Studies, the Office of Equity and Campus Diversity, the Communication Department, and the Birchfield Penny Art Center. March is the month to celebrate women, and on March 8th, we celebrated International Women's Day. Black Active Minds, an organization on Buffalo State's campus, held an empowerment session. The event was entitled Sister Session, and it was held on March 11th from 11 to 2 p.m. in the Assembly Hall. Buffalo State's own Tamara McMillan was one of the many speakers.
Buffalo State holds an annual fair that allows its students to network with various companies. Here's Zachary Huck with coverage on this year's fair.
Buffalo State held its internship and job fair last week. This was an opportunity for students and alumni to have one-on-one conversations with several different companies, offering a various amount of jobs and internships. Last week, Buffalo State and the Career Development Center held its job and internship fair in the Social Hall of the Student Union. Over 400 students had the opportunity to talk to 62 different companies who offered a variety of internships and full-time positions. Lynn Rogers, who hosted the fair, raved about this year's turnout that set record-breaking numbers for Buffalo State.
The opportunity for students to find internships, full-time jobs, as well as just find out information about organizations, because many times students just need additional career knowledge and information in order to find out what they want to do, after graduation.
Students walked around from table to table, talking to companies and making first impressions that could possibly turn into a job or internship. With there being opportunities for all majors, it wasn't hard for students to find what they were looking for.
I was really looking forward to finding something that deals with psychology and children because I'm a psychology major, so I'm really excited that there's a good amount of people here who offer those kind of services, like mental health services, so that was really exciting for me. I got a lot of good information. I think it's really good that there's so many companies. There's literally something for everybody. There's something for communications a table I went to, so there's a lot of different options.
With Buffalo State being a well-recognized school for communications, Channel 4 News and other news stations were in attendance at the fair and were eager to talk to students aspiring to enter the field of media.
Opportunity for me to kind of reach out to the students, for the students to come talk to me, to realize that you can graduate from Buffalo State and still stay in Buffalo and kind of work for the various TV stations here if that's what you wanted to do. That's what we're looking for at some entry-level positions, some internships, and the best students I believe are here at Buff State, so this is a really good opportunity. I know the program very well since I taught here at one point. I graduated from here, so I know how the students are taught. I know how you guys are taught in this class. So to have you come, you're very prepared for an internship at Channel 4, having started here. So that's why we kind of want to target Buffalo State students. We know that you have a good education and that you're ready for the next level.
The job and internship fair was a great way for students to start looking for opportunities and to get more experience before heading into the real world. With most jobs looking for some type of internship or experience before getting hired, what better way to start looking than here at Buff State?
Marshfield Penny Arts Center will be held this Thursday at 2 p.m. The tours are an hour long and will be offered every Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. The tours are the chance to gain a deeper understanding of the artwork and artists. Museum admission starts at $5 and it's free for Buffalo State students.
The Buffalo State Guitar Club will have local metal artist Inertia perform on March 17th at the Louis P. Simonelli Recital Hall. The concert will be held from 2 to 5 p.m. as the band will show off their latest album. They'll also get a chance to talk about the process it took to make the full album and describe why they made each song before performing it. After the concert is over, Inertia will allow Buffalo State students to use their guitars and pedals that they've used on stage so that they might have the same experience as the band. The event will be free for Buffalo State students.
The provost of Buffalo State, Melanie Perrault, is on search for an intern associate for 2017 and 2018 school year. Here's Ashley Steele with more on the story.
Many changes will occur this up-and-coming academic year. Melanie Perrault, provost at SUNY Buffalo State, has decided to look for an interim associate provost for the next academic year.
Here at Buff State, we currently don't have an associate provost, so I'm doing a larger restructuring of the whole area of academic affairs, with the goal being to put more support directly into student academic support. So to try to really streamline things and get our resources directed more at students than at administration. So
preferred qualifications are to have leadership experience and a constant record of scholar or creative achievement. Submissions must be sent to the provost's email, and the deadline will be Wednesday, March 15th.
Out of some of this streamlining came some resources to be able to hire somebody as associate provost. So right now, there isn't anybody who is under me that has a big scope of the university. So we have.
As the interim associate provost, the position will have many responsibilities, like overseeing direct reports from the Academic Achievement Center, academic success, honors and undergrad research, and having to deal with the Roar and 4 initiative.
To Roar and 4 really requires us to put more services directly in academic services, supporting students and doing much better at the advising piece of it, making sure that we have the right classes offered at the right time. And so that's absolutely, we need to sort of strip down the administrative piece, get the resources right towards the students, and that way we can help more students get out in 4 years. So we're really committed to that.
Former USG President Derek Jordan has more thoughts about the provost search.
I think a associate's provost would be a great benefit to our campus, because I believe that that person is going to now step in and get more of the students' feedback and understanding of what do we need as students on this campus.
This is the Buffalo Review, and I'm Ashley Steele.
This past Saturday, Buffalo State's Mohamed Koyat traveled to Chicago to compete in the Division III Indoor Track and Field Championship. The indoor track and field star was officially disqualified in the 400-meter dash, preliminaries after taking more than 3 steps inside the line. With the indoor season now over, the players and head coach Eugene Lewis will now shift to outdoor track and field as they will compete in the Sensed on the April 1st.
To bring awareness to broken households, the Fashion Student Association held a program called Broken Families. The program tackled touching topics such as parents being killed, absent, or walking out of their child's lives. The debate of a single parent raising a child opposed to co-parenting was also addressed. The program was held on March 15th in Classroom Building C-122.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV. We'll be back after this break.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, thebuffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the Buffalo Review TV. I'm Jacob Fyack, and now we're going to turn our attention to our women's lacrosse team. The Bengals had a big win last week as they defeated
Duville 21-1. Currently this season, the team is 1-1 overall and are looking to make a run at the SUNYAC playoffs. Joining us on today's show is women's lacrosse head coach Lindsay Abbott and junior attacker Christina Crowell. Ladies, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Coach Abbott, I want to start off with you real quick. Looking at the team that you overall had last season, and looking at the off season, what were some goals that you wanted to make heading into this season?
Well, you know, unfortunately last year we didn't make it to the SUNYAC playoff, and that was definitely a #1 goal for us. We saw, you know, some of the other teams had a lot of their seniors graduating who had good years, and we're hoping to make a run at some of those teams this year.
Looking at the roster you had from last season, now there's a lot of different changes, and you also have some players who are coming back. What are like the major differences you see from this team's roster to last year's?
Well, last year we counted on a couple people scoring some goals, and this year we have a lot more diversity on our team, different cutters, different dodgers who are able to put the ball in the back of the net, which is extremely helpful, having, you know, 5 or 6 girls that can put the ball in the back of the net versus just 2 or 3.
Looking at the players you have for this season, what players do you see, like any new players on this team that you can see being a major factor to your lacrosse team the next couple of years?
Yeah, we've got a couple of transfers that came in the fall. One that actually just came in this spring that is really going to just really help us. We have Jackie Dufresne and Nina Schaefer, both transfers, one from OCC, Onondaga Community College, and one from Mercyhurst, who I think are going to be able to put some big numbers up for us and really kind of, like I said, change the dynamic of the team.
Switching over to Christina Crowell here. Since you've been on the team, have you noticed any progression as a lacrosse player?
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed some progression as a lacrosse player and also as a individual, a working individual in the world. My teammates and I were always working together, working on each other to make each other better constantly, and we're always stepping up the notch. You know what I mean?
I'm looking at that progression. Can you go a little bit more depth on like how that progression has been?
Yeah, freshman year I came in thinking I was a freshman. I didn't have much to think about. You know, we had a new coach coming in. I knew nothing about. So I had an open mind, and I definitely took that as an advantage. And I started to work hard. And as a freshman, I was able to put my name out there a little bit. And then last year, I definitely stepped up, I think, and was able to help my team with some wins.
Looking at the roster overall, how do you think this team how do you think this team looks like?
Every season, I think, you know, this team couldn't get better. There's not one thing that could change to make this team better, but our team just keeps growing by the person, and each person just has something to put forward. We're a big puzzle piece, and without one of those pieces, you know, we wouldn't be the team that we are.
Is there a certain individual, new person on our team, or someone who's come back that you've seen like a huge upgrade from, and what have they done to become a better lacrosse player on this team?
I think every person on the team has a great ability to make each other laugh. And, you know, through all the hard practices in the cold and, you know, the stuff that we don't really want to do, like run sometimes, we're able to make each other laugh at the end of the day and realize that this is fun more than just, you know, working. It's fun and hard work, which makes it all come together.
After having a huge season last year, you managed to score 45 goals in that season. What is like, besides scoring, because you are also the leader in scoring with 9 goals, are there any other goals that you're willing to try and attain this season?
Definitely. My coach has voiced before to me that I want to get my assist up there and start putting goals in other people's hands. You know, obviously we need people to score, but we need people to pass those to those scorers. So I'm trying to bring up my assists and also work on the draw controls, because it all starts there. So winning the draw control will really help the whole team come together.
You know, while being the team leader in goals and assists and proving to be that goal scorer on this team, what has been your motivation to play at a Division III level here at Buffalo State?
My motivation, definitely just at the end of the day, how fun it is. I get to take a break from my classes and the real world and come back and play lacrosse, which gets my mind off of everything. And my teammates are definitely my motivation, of course.
For being this now your third year, correct, on this team, and is there anyone that looks up to you? Any like the sophomore or freshmen that look up to you?
I'm sure there's a few people that look up to me, but you know, that's up for discussion, obviously. I'm not sure, but some new people definitely, they always look for the older girls to help them come on board and get used to the campus and get used to the D3 life. You know, being an athlete is totally a different lifestyle than just being a regular student.
When you were a freshman or sophomore on this team, was there anyone that you looked up to, any junior or senior at all in particular?
Yeah, of course. You know, some of my greatest friends I've gotten from lacrosse. Sarah LaRusso obviously graduated last year. She was a big influence, and also my coaches. You know, we aren't too far apart in age, and they have so much to say about not only college, but also they came from SUNYAC schools. So it really helps with when we go out and play SUNYAC in our conference. They know exactly what's coming and what we need to do to beat those people.
I'm going back to Coach Abbott here. Looking at this season right now and looking at the seasons you had in the past since being head coach here, what are some challenges that you'll face with certain opponents?
Well, like I said, the SUNYAC did graduate a lot of the seniors that really have brought those teams forward. So I'm looking forward to, you know, looking at the challenges that they're actually going to be facing this year, losing those top players. We are able to watch a lot of film on all those teams. So I think, you know, we have the challenges of, all right, who are the new people that they're bringing in? What transfers did they get? And they're looking at the same thing with us too. Who is Buffalo State? And everyone's trying to still find their way right now. But that's why we do watch a lot of film, try and go scout those teams and see, you know, what those teams are all about.
Looking at the season overall and what you have ahead, I've had the fortunate opportunity to interview some of the head coaches for like men's and women's teams. A lot of them say that their goal is to win the SUNYAC championship as soon as the season starts. What is your overall goal when the season's over?
Well, you know, unfortunately, the past few years, we've kind of been at the bottom of the SUNYAC. So our goal is to really try and get into that top 4. And from there, then we can make those goals of winning the SUNYAC. But until then, our goal is to really get into the top 4 and really start being a consistent contender come the end of the season.
After mentioning that, where do you see the team, if you're able to reach those goals, where do you see that this team in the next year or two?
Well, in the next year or two, that is our goal, to be, you know, consistently in the top 4. Like I said, our team has grown since the first time that I've gotten here. We've gone, and this year is probably our strongest year yet, and we're hoping that that'll just continue over the next couple years. So hopefully, you know, staying consistent in the top 4.
Okay, last question, and this is for Christina Crowell. For having a head coach who's a 4-time All-American and who is the leader in points, goals, and assists at Cortland, correct? What type of learning experience or development have you obtained since joining the team?
I've learned so much from her, not only being a part of a D3 team and SUNYAC conference, but also as a person. She motivates us. She definitely, if we didn't have a sense of competition before, she definitely instilled that in all of us, competition and just grit to wanna win and wanna compete against others.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's discussion. Thank you for both joining us, and good luck to the rest of your season.
Thanks so much.
We'll take a quick break here. This is the Buffalo Review.
2, 1, cue 'em, take camera 2.
You're watching the Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. You can find out more about our show at our website, thebuffaloreview.wordpress.com, and we welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.
Welcome back to the Buffalo Review TV. I'm Nikita Singh. Today, I would like to focus this time on this upcoming USG elections. This year, the candidates all met on March 2nd to go over all of the rules and procedures needed to run in this year's election. Elections will start on March 27th until March 30th. Joining us today is President Teron Grant. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
What year are you in?
I'm currently a senior graduating in less than 2 months, so I'm very happy.
How long have you been a member in USG?
I've been a part of USG since my freshman year, first semester.
How was your experience freshman year?
It was actually very tricky at first when I first came. I was very nervous. I still remember going up in front of the Senate and I was stumbling over my words. I wasn't a great public speaker at the time, and I didn't have that much experience within Buffalo State. But what really made me decide to go for that position was that the current president at the time spoke during orientation, and it seemed as if within that position I could really add value into the community and really grow in the experience.
So would you say that the past president of USG made you join USG?
Yes, the previous 3 presidents ago from freshman year time.
How has USG impacted your 4 years of being here?
It's definitely been a great growing experience. I had a chance to really see how government operates, to test my lobbying abilities, and to really just become a better me as well as add value to the community.
Being this is your first year as president, how has your first term been?
Well, this term has been a very bittersweet experience. It's been sweet in the sense of when you're able to get your initiatives across and just help students be able to solve their problems and help them become situated. Now, the bitter aspect is dealing with issues that could occur with administration as well as our organizations, but that's just, you have to take it as a package. You can't separate it. So you have to take the good and the bad, but all in all, it's been an amazing experience, and for the next people coming in, I know they're gonna enjoy it.
What are some challenges you would say that you face as a president?
Well, one of the largest challenges I face as a president is just being aware of what's going on campus. With Buffalo State being an institution of 10,000, it's almost in a sense you have to have eyes and ears everywhere to be able to figure out what's going on, as well as just figuring out what's coming in the future. A lot of communication is lost throughout the campus, so being able to plan a course of action based on where the institution is leading towards, and also setting direction in the same token.
What is the biggest disconnect you feel between the student body and administration when it comes to being considered as a top 3 position?
I think the biggest disconnect between the top 3 and administration is that avenue of communication, our shared governance. Although that is something that is in SUNY guidelines, it tends to get lost throughout the process. So it goes back to what I mentioned before. A lot of information that I should be receiving from top administration, I have to find out through College Senate or through different people just mentioning it. So just information being lost and just making sure that we're being communicated before decisions are being made. I think that's a real strong avenue of that aspect.
What's like a normal day in President Grant's life?
It's interesting. Every day now I've been having to dress up. Meetings pop up here and there, so it's just always being prepared, never knowing who you might see on a certain day. And just also something that's been relatively new is in a lot of different conversations I've been having to push agendas casually. But it's being able to, it's going back to the foundation. Advocacy is why we're here for the student body. So as long as my loyalty and I'm undividedly here for the students, that's what I'm doing.
Have you got a chance to meet this year's candidates for next year?
Yes, I have. I have had the chance to meet the candidates. I believe that they're going to be heading on the right track. They all seem to have strong experience within USG, and they all bring different experiences to the table as well. So I think the next academic year is going to be pretty well for the student body.
What advice would you give the next legislature?
The next legislatures, the advice I would give to them is just remember the foundation of USG. I think quite often it becomes lost with all the activities and the fun things that we throw, which the student body loves. It's great, but we have to remember that our primary reason why we're here is to advocate for the student body. And as long as you're doing that, you'll never get lost.
What are some things you think candidates don't think about while running in the elections?
I think candidates don't necessarily notice how time-consuming this position can actually be. It never eases up. During breaks, you're always going to end up having to do something for USG, whether you plan for it or not. It's just being prepared. That is a huge responsibility that you're undertaking, can help you along this process.
What would you like to see done differently as the candidates running this year's election?
I think what I would like to see done differently is just better management of people. I think to a certain extent this year, we didn't necessarily, especially when deciding for committees in the institution, we didn't pick that to of fine tooth, and that kind of created issues for us, not necessarily knowing who were on these committees and what decisions they were making, and not necessarily reporting back to us. So it's just being very careful who we place in certain places.
This is kind of redundant, but for those students who don't really know what USG actually do, what do you guys actually do on campus?
Well, USG, we are the recognized student government for the student body here at Buffalo State. So we provide activities, services, a number of different resources, as well as advocacy for the student body on issues that might be troubling them. And also we have the ability to create improvements. I report directly to President Conway, and we have a lot of authority here on campus. So we have the ability to really enhance the experience. That's the sole gist of what we do, as well as the services we provide, such as the dental clinic. We have Whispering Pines, a campsite that students can utilize. So we do have a lot of resources.
What are some ways USG's going about promoting this year's elections?
So there's been a number of different methods that I have seen. There have been flyers, social media promotions. So there was a lot of different avenues. It really depended upon whether the students heard the calling or they felt the calling to step up into the position. But we have done our part in promoting the elections pretty thoroughly.
Would you say that the student body is knowledgeable about how a USG election is ran?
I would say that they're knowledgeable, because when the actual election polls are in the union, it's noticed. People stop, they wonder what is this, they take out the polls and they vote. Because it's interesting, it catches their attention, as well as when the candidates start potentially campaigning, students see that as well. So I believe students are aware of the actual process. It's just not, when you're not in the process itself, then you're not fully aware of everything that's happening. But you do see potentially, if you want to run for a position, you can. You see flyers of other people running for these positions, and you see the week when it's time to vote. So students are aware of that.
How do you think, with the vote mandatory, how do you think that's going to play a part in this year's elections?
I don't necessarily see that interfering with the elections at all. I believe the student body is aware in the statement that we released, the reason why we are increasing the fee and the extra resources that will be added along with that. And I don't see that actually impacting the elections for the candidates, particularly running. I see it as it's going to enhance what they plan to bring to the office for the next academic year.
How do you think those candidates who are not in USG, how do you think they would feel getting into their positions, not really, knowing or being knowledgeable about USG?
It's a learning experience. I'm still learning to this day how to fully be president. It's not something you could really be trained on to a full extent. You just learn as you go, and you grow in this position.
Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you to Ron Grant for joining us today, and you're watching the Buffalo Review TV.
And thank you for having me.
The Buffalo Review TV, produced by Stripes Media. We welcome your feedback. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, you can email us at thebuffaloreview@gmail.com.